Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the lone Democratic candidate for Mississippi's Ag Commissioner has been elected Vice President of a national beef industry group.
Cattle producers are always on the lookout for cost-effective food sources for their animals. Sweet potatoes are a possibility, but they have to be fed with some caution.
In Southern Gardening, looking to put together a hanging basket? Don't reach for the garden soil bag. Look for the potting mix.
In the markets, choppy trading expected in the grains ahead of the March 31st Planning Intentions Report, as catfish processing and prices head in opposite directions.
In the feature segment today, the Mississippi Women in Agriculture program. It's giving Mississippi women business and management skills to use on their farms or in agribusinesses. It's paid off in some unexpected ways for some.
Women in agriculture has meant a lot to me in the last couple of years. It has given me the self-confidence that I needed to take an idea that I had in my head and to develop it into the business of agritourism that we now have on our farm. Not only has it given me the self-confidence that I needed, but it also has given me a network of people that I have been able to draw on.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
A Mississippi man has been elected to second in command of a national beef advocacy group.
Leighton, the board of RCAF elected a new president and vice president this week. The president hails from Georgia while the vice president is from Mississippi. This gentleman is also in the hunt to be Mississippi's next agriculture commissioner. RCAF stands for the Ranchers Cattlemen Action Legal Fund, a group often at odds with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Joel Gill of Pickens, Mississippi, was elected RCAF's sole vice president on Tuesday by its board of directors. Gill was the organization's Region 12 director and represented Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Gill is the co-owner of a longtime cattle order buying company. He's also the sole Democratic candidate in the race for the Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce in Mississippi. RCAF's Region 9 Director, George Chambers of Georgia, was elected president. Chambers replaced Max Thornsberry, who is ineligible to serve another term. Joel Gill will face one of three Republican candidates in the November election: State Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith of Brookhaven, Cattleman Max Phillips of Taylorsville, and State Representative Danny Reed of Ackerman.
The recent death of 200 cattle in Wisconsin after eating bad sweet potatoes has concerned some Mississippi cattle producers. Extension specialists at Mississippi State University say sweet potatoes are safe for cattle to eat when fed properly. They are abundant in the state, and producers can lower feed costs by adding sweet potatoes to a herd's diet. Farm Week's Amy Taylor has the story.
Cattle producers in Mississippi are gathering information about how to properly feed sweet potatoes as an additional feedstuff. Jane Parrish, Mississippi State University Extension beef cattle specialist, explains why.
There was a recent story in the news about some cattle that died from eating sweet potatoes. And of course in Mississippi, sweet potatoes is a very popular crop. Mississippi leads the nation in sweet potato production, and we have a lot of cattle producers who consider feeding that as an alternative feed.
Parrish says the death in the Wisconsin herd in 2011 was from eating moldy sweet potatoes. She assures that feeding them to cattle is indeed safe when done right.
You want to make sure that you don't feed frozen sweet potatoes, number one, because of the choking risk. Also, what will help reduce the choking risk is if you can chop those, maybe run them through a silage chopper. If you can feed them in a low bunk, particularly maybe a trough that has a bar across the top of it or electric wire or something that won't allow those cattle to raise their head when they're eating, keep their necks and throats extended when they're eating, you're going to reduce the risk of choking. So that's one thing you can do. Another risk is if you feed, of course, the moldy sweet potatoes or sweet potatoes that are sprouted, you can have some toxins that are in those sprouted parts. especially if you've had potatoes that have been exposed to sunlight and are sprouted, that'd be especially dangerous.
Parrish explains sweet potatoes must not be fed to calves or young cattle, and because they do not contain all essential nutrients, they are not to be used as the only feed source. Parrish adds that sweet potatoes shouldn't be fed permanently because they cause tooth decay over time. But when fed correctly, cattle producers can lower feed costs and provide a healthy energy source for their cattle. From Mississippi State University, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Here's a question. Is garden soil the same as potting mix? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says the answer is no, and he shows us beautiful container plants start with the right potting mix.
Garden soil is good for plants in ground, but growing plants in containers requires a totally different kind of mix. Container mixes are often called soilless because there's no soil at all. They are found under a variety of trade names but are similar in their basic recipe. They are composed of a variety of components like peat moss or core fiber, bark, vermiculite, and perlite. Soil mixes for containers need to be light, airy, and drain well. The basic recipe can change depending on the type of plant being grown. Succulents and herbs prefer a mix that is coarse and doesn't hold much moisture. Foliage and tropical plants like a finer textured mix that holds more water. Always moisten the potting mix in a tub by adding water and lightly fluffing. When filling pots with mix, leave about 1 inch between the mix and the top of the pot. This will provide space and make watering easier. You can reuse the potting mix as long as there were no serious disease issues. Large containers can be expensive to fill with commercial mixes. Adding filler to take up space reduces weight and the amount of mix needed. Aluminum cans or non-degradable styrofoam packing peanuts work very well. Fill the bottom 1/3 of the pot with filler, lay a piece of landscape fabric on top, and fill the remaining space with mix. The landscape fabric keeps the mix from filling into the filler material. When growing plants in containers, be sure to use a commercial mix. They're engineered for you to be successful with your container plants. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says use good commercial potting mixes to help your container plants look their best. Layton, in our feature segment today, the annual Mississippi Women in Agriculture Conference is coming up April 12th. See how this program is teaching business skills to women involved in agriculture and agribusiness. One woman says it has given her the confidence and the skills she needs to manage the family's land in the wake of her husband's death. Time now for the markets with Layton and Layton. There's a report that U.S. rice plantings may be down 40% from last year.
That's right, Artis. That's one of the private projections out ahead of the planting intentions report. We'll have more on what that report on the 31st may say coming up. Also ahead in the markets this week, U.S. catfish prices move up compared to a year ago. U.S. beef exports run way ahead of government estimates. And U.S. corn sales to Japan may slow in the wake of the natural disaster there. The latest catfish processing report released on Monday the 21st indicates that prices jumped in February compared to a year ago. The average pond bank price being paid to U.S. producers last month was $1 per pound. That is 23 cents per pound more than was being paid a year ago. Farm sales totaled close to 28 million pounds round weight, a decrease of 32% from February 2010. Processor sales were just a hair over 15.5 million pounds. That is also a big decrease, a drop of 31% from 1 year ago. The U.S. cattle industry took a direct hit as far as the natural disaster in Japan. Japan is the biggest foreign customer for U.S. beef. As analysis of the dollars and cents impact of that situation on American producers continues, one economist was already of the opinion the cattle market looked to be a little overdone. Analyst Sue Martin thinks the beef trade is due for a correction.
You know, I think the USDA had estimated that we'd have like 10% exports, increase in exports in beef this year, and currently we're running way over that, and I mean way over it. And to get to that estimate, you know, the USDA isn't going to miss it that far, I don't think. So to get something close to 10, maybe 15%, it would appear to me that something has to happen. Demand has to slow a little bit. And the combination between that You know, and right now we're backing meat back into the domestic market because of the fact that Japan's not able to take what they need right now.
Well, we're able to take a moment here to pose the last trivia quiz for the month of March. It has to do with forestry and the manufacture of paper from trees. What's the dominant popular method for producing wood pulp from wood chips called? Your choices are sulfite process, craft process, or kettle process. The answer will be coming up soon.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second half of the markets. Leighton Spann talks with commodity market analyst Nolan Cullen of Jackson, Mississippi about where corn and soybean prices are headed. In the feature segment today, Mississippi Women in Agriculture. This program is teaching real-world business skills to women.
I've got a lot of choices to make in the coming years, and I really want to make sure that I get it all right. I want to discover who I am, where I belong, what my dreams are. I want to find my hidden talents and see where those skills can take me in the future. I need leadership given today to help me make the right decisions tomorrow, and I have that with Mississippi 4-H.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Cattlemen's Exchange Feeder Calf Board Sale is Tuesday, April 5th. The location is Double E Ranches at Winona, Mississippi. Sale starts at 7 p.m. 17 truckload lots are being offered. We will have a link to the catalog and phone numbers on our website at Farm Week. Now, Mississippi State University is holding a Discovery Day for girls interested in forestry-related careers. You'll learn about jobs in forestry, wildlife biology, ecology, law enforcement, and land management. It takes place at the MSU campus Friday, April 8th. Limited to 24 girls from 9th through the 11th grades. There is no registration fee, but you need to call ahead and reserve a spot. A workshop on wood, its identification and manufacturing characteristics, takes place April 12th. The location is the Franklin Center at Mississippi State University in Starkville. There's no registration fee. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
We move into the row crop section of the markets now. We mentioned earlier the importance of the Japanese market to American beef producers. Well, Japan is also the largest importer of U.S. corn. What the recent disaster will mean to the grain sector is the first question I posed in this week's market interview. Using the internet, we made a video call to broker Nolan Cullen of Walsh Trading in Jackson Tuesday afternoon. Nolan, Japan is the largest importer of U.S. corn. Do we know yet how that recent natural disaster there will affect our export sales?
Well, certainly, Leighton, the devastation of property and the infrastructure and the loss of life is devastating for Japan. To say the least, short-term corn exports may be softened somewhat. It'll probably take 1 to 2 quarters, or the experts guess, before port situations can normalize. We have loss of infrastructure. We have port congestion, the priority to receive potentially other commodities such as fuel and other processed type of food. There's also further possibility of nuclear contamination that may throw the whole import-export situation in disarray. Certainly, we think on the short run, exports may suffer. We think that there may be a need to process from raw commodity imports to processed commodity imports because of the infrastructure to various factories and processing capability. The one exception to that is energy. We know that Japan imports 100% of its energy, and with the other world events in the Middle East, we look forward in the crude oil market, and we see that the market is really suggesting crude oil over $1 for the foreseeable future, perhaps far out as 18 months. So all that plays an important figure, and it's impossible to know. We do know that if energy costs remain high, consumption of corn for ethanol on a domestic basis will probably increase also. So there's an offset there. In addition, for the markets this week, we had rumored purchase of Chinese of corn. We do actually have 2 purchases on the books that are to unknown destination. Rumor, although unconfirmed, is that this for China. This could be a major supporting factor for the corn, not only now, but going into next week's report.
All right, Nolan, in about 30 seconds, the countdown is on to Thursday, March 31st, the Planning Intentions Report. What impact is that going to have on corn and soybeans? What do you expect it to say?
Well, we think most of these numbers are pretty well forecast. Corn at a figure of approximately 77 to 78 unchanged. Corn 91 to 92. Wheat 57 million, cotton 13 million acres. I think these numbers are in the market. Certainly there will be a market reaction. The real test of these numbers is what we actually see planted, the weather for growing conditions for the year. Supply is tight. We need bountiful crops to relieve this tight supply situation, even going into 12.
Informa Economics released its forecast of the Prospective Plantings Report on Friday, March 18th. Informa projects rice plantings will be just 2.2 million acres in the U.S. in 2011, down 40% from last year. Analysts at Arkansas Farm Bureau say this should be supportive of new crop and perhaps drag old crop rice futures higher. Concluding the market segment is the answer to the trivia quiz about paper making. B is the correct choice. The craft process is the dominant method for producing wood pulp and has been since the 1940s.
April 12th through the 14th, the Mississippi Women in Agriculture program will hold its annual meeting in Starkville at Mississippi State University. Some of you watching may wonder if you should participate. Well, today we're rebroadcasting our Farm Week feature story on the NWIA. In it, you'll meet some women who say the program has made a world of difference for them. They testify that they feel qualified now to assist their spouses and business partners. These women say they have learned the value of independence in case they should become the primary operators of their farms or enterprises. Farm Week's Amy Taylor first brought us this story in November 2009.
Farm women with a passion to succeed are increasing their business knowledge and skills through the Mississippi Women in Agriculture program. Participants like Delene Robertson, Sandra Berryhill, and Jan Holly claim the program helps maximize their roles in business management, which has become critical to their success. Holly says MWIA has been a valuable tool since starting an agritourism business on her row crop farm in Fulton.
Women in agriculture has meant a lot to me in the last couple of years. It has given me the self-confidence that I needed to take an idea that I had in my head and to develop it into the business of agritourism that we now have on our farm. Not only has it given me the self-confidence that I needed, but it also has given me a network of people that I have been able to draw on.
MWIA provides opportunities for women to interact through educational sessions, seminars, and an annual state conference. Program coordinator Sonia Hancock says women can learn from a variety of business development topics.
We do cover information on human resource development so individuals can learn to work better with their employees and maybe with the business associates. We also include how to prepare for borrowing money from a financial institution, what you need to know, risk management, how to deal with the many risks that we encounter in a farming operation, estate planning. The Women in Agriculture program is held due to a grant that we were awarded through USDA. It comes through the Southern Risk Educational Center, through Mississippi State and Southern Rural Development Center.
Women claim their involvement in Mississippi Women in Agriculture helps them prepare for the expected and unexpected circumstances. Sandra Berryhill of Franklin County says she is better able to run her farm and take care of her 7 children after her husband passed away 3 years ago. Berryhill talks about her experience with the program.
They taught us a lot about how to make loans, how to keep records, how to manage your credit score. We learned a lot about farm credit and estate planning. Whether you have children or if you don't, you need to think about farm succession because somebody is going to end up with your place and you need to make plans for that. You know, if you want your place to continue as a farm. When I first started having to make decisions, I would second guess myself a lot. But once I went to the Women in Ag conference, and knew that I had the tools to make the good decisions, then I just began to get a lot more confident when I went to sell timber.
Berryhill emphasizes that being prepared to become the primary decision maker of a business or farm is crucial because the unexpected can happen to anyone. In addition to becoming well prepared, Sonia Hancock claims interest has grown in using computer programs and other technologies for business.
We have offered QuickBooks record keeping program, and they're wanting to use the technology or record keeping programs on the computer. In addition to that, they are wanting to learn to do web pages and even blogging to promote their agricultural products.
Delene Robertson of Pike County testifies that using updated technology is extremely useful in managing her poultry farm.
It was what I need to help our farm become more productive and to know what areas we can improve in, and to keep track more of what we're doing, you know, when we're making improvements, when we're having breakdowns, you know, and to keep inventory. And it will let me know what we have on hand and when I need to reorder things.
Robertson says she now feels more qualified to support her husband and lend her input on managing the farm. Jan Holly says being around women with similar interests helps boost her creativity and make use of what she calls her pack rat tendencies.
I think it gave me permission to be the person that I had inside. I will go someplace else or visit someplace else or talk to another woman who has used a similar idea. And so I can come back home and I can use all of my stacked things that I have found here and there, and I can make something out of them.
Holly explains that being part of a 6th-generation farm has fostered plenty of opportunities to use what she has learned to create an atmosphere for the business. Delene Robertson says being around women opens more doors for communicating and gathering information.
We know what we're talking about with each other. Men tend to, you know, they say very few words, so you don't get much information. It seems you can get more information from other women.
Robertson says becoming a knowledgeable businesswoman and producer has been a rewarding experience.
It's just very fulfilling to know that you can work with your hands to produce something, to make something grow, to, you know, to have something that makes a difference. It's supplying a need in our economy and in our society, and it's very rewarding.
Robertson says her experience with MWIA will be useful in the future as she expands her farm into more facets of agriculture. Sandra Berryhill says she has a better understanding of why it's important to be a good steward to the land.
When my husband got sick, he told me, he said, I don't have anything to give you but this place. But he said, if you take care of this place, it'll take care of you. And so that's what we try to do. I tell my children we need to be good stewards of what we have. We need to work together to keep it going.
Berryhill claims that teaching these principles to younger generations will help ensure the value of agriculture in the future. Sonia Hancock encourages any woman interested in agriculture to get involved in the Mississippi Women in Agriculture program.
If you're a lady, you're interested in agriculture, no matter the role you play in the field, be it a wife, a daughter, an owner, you'll learn a lot of information in addition to being able to network with women that have the same interests.
Participants say business partners and spouses are also grateful to Mississippi Women in Agriculture for helping them play greater roles and add diversity to the industry. I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
And if you're interested in watching this story again, go to our Farm Week website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find us on YouTube now. You go to YouTube, type in Farm Week as one word with quotation marks, and you'll find our stories and avoid the Farm Week come latelys. Now, if you're interested in the Mississippi Women in Agriculture Conference, that will be Tuesday through Thursday, April 12th through the 14th. We'll have links and telephone numbers at our website to get you registered. The cost does vary according to whether you're already an MWIA member. Layton, and this brings up the importance of both spouses knowing the family business and knowing what the structure of that is, because a woman may not want to be an active manager, but if her spouse were to pass away, she may not have a choice in that. So that's why something like Mississippi Women in Agriculture is important. And it's a good program. And maybe as husbands, we don't take the time to encourage wives to do that sort of thing, but we provide for our families. Well, if we're going to provide for them after we're gone, they need to know some of the things that are happening and how they should go about operating the land in a business-like manner. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our show next week, Go Gardens.
This innovative tool is being used to teach conservation principles to students in Lamar County, Mississippi. The students feel a sense of ownership with the gardens. It helps to teach everything from math to nutrition. It even makes them want to eat vegetables.
In southern gardening, the Calicobra Million Bells. It's a proven bloomer that's hardy as well. And if you'd like further information on a Farm Week story, you want to write us, you want to suggest a story to us, get in touch with us. Our address, Farm Week, Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. That's Farm Week, Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. You can also contact us through your Mississippi State University Extension Service office. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.